Hi folks, welcome to your latest Planning Outlook that's updated on Tuesday the 29th of September. As we move into the start of October, it's low pressure that is due to dominate and generally unsettled conditions over the next week or more as low pressure systems just rotate slowly across the British Isles. It will bring low confidence in the detail of the forecast more than a few days ahead, but expect there to be rain and showers often in the picture and some persistent heavy falls in there at times. Temperatures still on the cool side, perhaps less cold is the best description, especially by this weekend. Now, it's been a good day for most places on Tuesday. This was a satellite picture in the afternoon, but waiting out to the west over the Atlantic is a big bank of cloud, and that's set to bring some heavy rainfall as we go onwards into Wednesday. With the wind south to southwesterlies, it's south-facing mountains that will really see some of the heaviest falls through the day. Is the forecast rainfall sequence then in 3-hour accumulation, starting off with Tuesday evening and night as that rain comes in across Ireland. It starts to appear across western coasts of Britain as we get towards first thing on Wednesday morning, and soon setting in heavily across west and southwest Scotland, across South Wales, and extending further into the Lake District too, and some increasingly heavy falls through the morning across much of West Wales and right the way across the southern half of the Highlands. The far north of the Highlands gets away with it for a while, but likely as the whole thing just spins around, rain will fill in even further north as time goes on. Some heavy falls moving eastwards across the Pennines and some clusters of showers following then from the west. That front will pull eastwards and northwards overnight into Thursday. A wraparound of that, though, may just still linger around across the Highlands into Thursday morning, for still some persistent rain across northern regions, and as chillier air arrives here, some snow across the higher Munros. That's Wednesday's synoptic chart. There's the fronts wrapped around the centre of low pressure, bringing that heavy rainfall. Ahead of the fronts, we've got winds up to gale force for a time in the morning, but quite quickly dropping lighter as that system just pushes eastwards. So a real changing story in terms of wind through the day. We'll switch around eventually towards a west or a northwesterly as the system begins to clear, and that's where that cooler air starts to encroach in from the west into Wednesday night. Freezing levels then at around 1200 metres or so into Thursday morning across Scotland, so that's where the snow is likely across those higher tops. It's a story of some showers for many places, but in that wraparound of a front across northern Scotland, those showers could still be a bit more organised, at least for a few hours. The west by southwesterly breeze will drive some showers in from the Irish Sea across the lakes, the Pennines and Wales, and as a trough comes in from the southwest, that may just give something a bit more organised in terms of frequent bursts of rain to South Wales later on in the day. Now, it doesn't look much on this chart, but notice the little frontal system away to the southwest, a developing system that will really spin itself up as we go through Thursday night into Friday to the south of Britain. We end up with quite a deep area of low pressure around the Channel and northern France, with fronts wrapped around that area of low pressure. Now, some uncertainty just how far north the influence of these fronts gets, and that will be critical and in terms of how much rain extends northwards across Britain on Friday. The idea of the greatest risk of rain is across Wales and the Peak District, nearest to that centre of low pressure. There may be some pulses of rain that run a bit further northwards than this. Much of Scotland may well get away with just one or two areas of showers, but there could just be a few clusters of those still lurking around. The winds at their lightest the further north you go, at their strongest likely the further south you go, where they could well be up to gale force for the South Pennines and across the Welsh mountains through Friday. Temperatures still cool, will tend to lift a little bit as we just draw in the airflow a little bit more from the southeast. It's all rather a mess as we go into the weekend, it must be said. We really just have to stress the low confidence in the forecast detail. The general message is that low pressure is still likely to be somewhere across the south of Britain, a general easterly wind coming in across much of northern Britain, Areas of rain wrapped around the low, associated with various fronts. They could almost be anywhere by this stage, and the risk of some rain pivoting northwards across Scotland as well. We'll keep an eye on the forecast detail. Basically, the idea of some rain and some low cloud, the heaviest falls and the lowest cloud most likely across more eastern hills and mountains. And again, treat detail with a pinch of salt, but there's Sunday's chart, and it's the suggestion that low pressure is very much in charge. Everything just rotating around that, and the risk of some prolonged heavy rain. For some other places, if you just get away from that wraparound of a front, you might just see a few showers and you get away with a largely dry day. And again, within the centre of the low, light winds will be in the picture, but just around its northern flank, you can see the close proximity of the isobars. That would be the risk of gales for some, and that may well be just to the far north of Scotland. It might well be further south. So again, treat the detail with much caution, but expect a rather unsettled picture. The outlook into the start of next week is very similar. It's that same area of low pressure that's more or less just stuck in a rut, really, just circulating around itself with areas of rain and showers, maybe bits and pieces feeding into it from the Atlantic, but more or less that same system in what we'd just call a cyclonic block, basically, where a low just goes around in circles, trapped between areas of high pressure. It is quite a common occurrence. It does make getting detail in the forecast quite tricky, but what we can suggest is that we're not seeing things steaming in from the Atlantic, so those classically windward western mountains not as wet as they would be in a prevailing west or southwesterly pattern, but nevertheless areas of rain and showers just rotating around across many areas. So a pretty unsettled week, it must be said. Some of those showers heavy with the risk of some hail and possible thunder on the odd day. Locally you may get away with it for a day or so, but I would suggest over several days ahead it's looking rather unsettled. Temperatures then hovering on the cool side of average, but not really below freezing, so most of the precipitation all falling as rain. And even further ahead, that's the pressure anomalies for the week as a whole up until the 12th of October off one of the longer range forecast models, and it suggests that low pressure is still very much around our part of the world. So these rather slow moving, unsettled, showery conditions are likely to prevail at the very least through this first 10 days of October. So keep your waterproofs handy and stay up to date with your local forecasts every day, of course, on our website. You can follow us on all the social media feeds as well. Thanks for watching this video today. Bye for now.